Hi, I'm Stan Scott with Perils and Consequences. Win every meeting. In our business, we have a saying, win every meeting. But what does that mean? Look at these two guys, Novak Djokovic and Rafa Nadal. Two of the top tennis players in the world have met each other for matches 48 times, and Novak has the edge, having beaten Rafa 25 to 23 times. Obviously, they both try to win every meeting against each other and all of the other tennis players in the world. First, every meeting should have an objective, a goal or desired end state. Sometimes that means getting to the next meeting, and sometimes it means closing business with a new client. The important thing is that you have a goal and you work toward that goal. When I sold ICE, Vericent's incentive compensation software, to farmers, I didn't close the business in the very first meeting. That sale took well over 20 meetings over the course of a year and a half. But each meeting had a goal, and I strove to meet or exceed the particular goal for each meeting. For instance, in our very first meeting with the IT group on Wilshire Boulevard in LA, we demonstrated how our software might meet some of farmers' challenges. We had to do similar demonstrations for many disparate groups of stakeholders within farmers. In some of those meetings, we received a yes from someone who could either sponsor or influence a decision from someone further up the chain. Eventually, we received a yes from the CIO, who presented our solution and got approval to pay us millions of dollars to provide the new incentive compensation tool, ICE, for farmers' agents. You have all heard the joke about the salesman who was so good he sold ICE to Eskimos. Here we have a Far Side representation of this. Well, I sold ICE to farmers and lived to tell about it. You're probably saying, that's great. We're glad you're the Willy Loman of software selling. But what does all this have to do with me? And that is a great question. It's a question your clients sometimes ask of you. They want to know what you said has to do with them. Relevance to whom you're speaking and advising is paramount. The farmer's ICE story is relevant to you because, like me, you have to win every meeting. In order to get the face-to-face meeting, you have to successfully talk and or email people to schedule the meeting in the first place. Thus, you can consider the cold call or the email a meeting itself. So you have to be as effective as you can during that first exchange to set up the appointment to meet them face-to-face. If the face-to-face meeting is with a person or a couple, aka your diagnosis meeting, your irrefutable insurance buying strategy that you present to them should allow you to close their business. You should even consider when you deliver their paperwork as a meeting itself. So you need to win this meeting too. Then you will have follow-up meetings to get their life and health business, and you need to win these meetings. If you are meeting with a larger commercial client, such as a homeowners association, you may have one meeting to present your insurance solution. Then they meet to decide or get buy-in from their stakeholders, usually without you, but hopefully you have a coach in the room that's saying your side of the story. And then you have a final meeting to sign them as a client. In cases such as these, you win that first meeting by advising them what to do and getting them to make a positive decision. Then you win the final meeting by signing them. Winning every meeting may sound difficult to you, but as Vince Lombardi said, winning isn't everything, winning is the only thing. So you have to prepare to win. Winning is all about preparation. Know your clients and their goals and aspirations. Find ways to tap into their emotions. Usually that is through stories. So have your stories ready, especially client stories highlighting why it's important to follow your advice. Know your solutions, study them, read, research, talk to your mentors. Be as prepared as you can. Anticipate your clients' questions before they ask them. Know the answers to their questions. Don't think, know. And visualize success. If success means signing them as a new client, then visualize that. Or success could mean getting to the next meeting, so visualize that. And make it happen. Win the meeting. Sometimes clients will have objections. That doesn't mean your presentation is flawed. Many times, it will have more to do with where your clients are coming from. And if you're prepared and listening, you will get to the root of their objection and you can successfully address it. Then move on, win the meeting. I like to have control over all of the variables that I can during the process. First, I want to hold meetings on my time schedule. I always schedule meetings to allow enough time between my meetings and to take into account the traffic to and from my meetings. It is important to control the turf where your meetings take place. My preference is to hold meetings in my office or on neutral turf if possible. When taking clients to dinner, you should get the best possible table and arrive early to ensure you get the power seat at the table, or so that your clients get the view if overlooking something beautiful like the Sydney Opera House or Lake Tahoe. You do everything you can to control the meeting, scheduling, turf, etc. But sometimes you can't control everything. So you have to be able to adapt to each situation. The key is this: when you're prepared, you can relax and adapt to whatever is thrown your way. I once had to do a presentation from on top of a filing cabinet in a very crowded closet during the early days of Amazon.com. There were two of us in the room, my engineer who did the demo and me, the sales guy. I didn't have the megaphone in the picture here, but I did conduct my presentation while sitting atop that filing cabinet. Another time, I had a meeting with the CEO of a company in downtown Manhattan. I flew from Chicago to Newark and took a cab into the city from the airport. I realized after walking into the office building that I had left my suitcase in the trunk of the cab since I was staying at my sister's in New Jersey for a few days after the meeting. I then took the elevator up to the floor of the company and waited in the lobby of their office for the CEO to get out of his meeting and meet with me. As I was waiting, and this was before cell phones, I asked the receptionist to help me track down my bag. Luckily, we were able to find the cab company located in Newark, New Jersey, and they tried to reach the cab driver of the cab I had taken. I didn't find out till later that the cab came back to headquarters, which was downtown Newark, some 30 miles away from where I was in Manhattan. Let's get back to my meeting. The CEO finally finished his previous meeting and stepped into the lobby to apologize that he had no time to meet with me since he had to catch a flight home to Charlotte. I hoped he was flying out of Newark, which was closer to where I was going and very close to my lost bag. However, he said his flight was out of LaGuardia, which is on the other side of Queens. I was determined to not only allow this meeting not to take place, but to win this meeting. Thus, I suggested I hop in the limo with him and conduct our meeting on the way to the airport, which is what we did. When the CEO got out of the limo at the airport, he said he was pleasantly surprised that I had won him over and appreciated my adaptability. It pays to be adaptable. It is often necessary to win every meeting. Back to my personal part of the story. I just completed my meeting with the CEO and he is off to catch his flight, but I am stuck at LaGuardia Airport. So I needed to figure out how I was getting back to New Jersey, to my lost bag, and eventually to my sister's, where I was going to stay. I decided to rent a car one way to Newark, picked up my bag in a very bad part of downtown Newark, then dropped off the car at the airport and was picked up by my sister. Whew. One last example. I had a final interview for a job at a company in California. They sent me back to their headquarters in Minneapolis, right near the Mall of America, to meet with the big cheese. I got to their office and the guy had me wait in the lobby for quite a while, and finally came out and said he only had 15 minutes to meet. For those 15 minutes, he berated me for how I could work for B Players, his competition, and then sent me on my way. On the cab ride back to the Mall of America so I could grab a drink and unwind from that debacle of a meeting, I asked myself, what just happened? I could not figure out why this company would spend close to $2,000 on a plane ticket for me to fly out here and waste my time meeting with the head honcho for those worthless 15 minutes. So I called the office and asked the receptionist to put me through to him, that I needed to respond to something from our meeting. Once on the phone, I asked him, what was that? And then told him I let him beat me up and didn't control the meeting and wanted another chance. He was genuinely surprised and said he was very glad I called. and made it seem as though this were all a test to see how I would respond under pressure. Well, I got back in there and won the meeting and the job, but turned around and told them I would never work for a company or a guy that did that to their prospects or employees. But I made the decision, not them. However, sometimes you get warning signals or red flags before a meeting. Either you haven't prepared enough or your client is not quite ready to hear what you advise. Somehow you get an inkling of this before the meeting happens. The best thing to do in these circumstances is to push the meeting out. Reschedule it. Make it for some time in the future that works better for you, to allow you enough time to prepare or to give your client enough time to be ready for your message. In either case, do not have the meeting. Again, do not have the meeting. You should reschedule, prepare, and win the meeting. I've learned this lesson the hard way, so now I trust my instincts to smell a rat before it shows up and to be able to do something about it. It is always better to reschedule the meeting for a better time for both you and the client than to go forward with the meeting and end up losing the meeting. And sometimes a client just isn't the right fit for your business. So you need to move on. Next. I always say the second best answer is no. You need to win every meeting. It's not good enough just to show up. Life is so much more than just showing up. It's about winning. And after all, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing.